there, this is Anna Aspinus from Anna Aspinus Designs, and in this video tutorial I want to show you how to create this layout on my screen using Photoshop Elements version 11. Of course, you can go ahead and use the Photoshop version of your choice. This particular layout was shared with my Anna News subscribers, my newsletter subscribers, last Saturday, the 6th of September 2014. If you'd like to become a subscriber, you can go to annaaspinus.typepad.com or annaaspinusdesigns.com and you can subscribe to the newsletter on the main page in the left-hand sidebar. So I'm going to begin the process by closing out this layout and create a new foundation so that we can recreate the page. Go to File, New, Blank File, and then put in the dimensions of the layout that you'd like to create. I like to do my layouts in 12 by 12, but some people like to do them at 8.5 by 11 or even 6 by 6. Any of those sizes would work. So put in the dimensions that you require. Make sure that you have a resolution of 300 pixels per inch, and then click OK. And there we have a blank page. And I'm going to go down to my folders. I'm going to access my product, and I'm going to be working with the products that were released on the 5th of September, which include Art Play Palette, Artsy, and some of the accompanying smaller element packs such as multimedia art and the dripped watercolor, etc. So I'm going to click on my Art Play Palette Artsy file and locate the papers folder. And I'm going to select this Artsy paper number 5 and drag it into my software program and just drop it into the workspace here. Now I've picked up a couple of bad habits along the way in the 12 years that I've been doing this, and quite often I will build a page actually on the background, which is fine and I'm comfortable doing that. The only downside of not creating a new layout and actually using a copy of this paper is that you might accidentally save over the original paper or change it in some way that you don't have the original any longer. So the best way to do it is to select the Move tool from the Tools panel and then drag the paper across onto the new layout. You could of course also create a duplicate copy of this file and work on the copy so that you still have the original intact. The next step is to add a photo to our layout. So I'm going to head back down to our folders, navigate to where I have saved my image, and in fact I usually save my images in a photos folder, but for convenience I've actually just dropped one in that's close to my supplies so that I didn't have to go searching for one while I recorded this video. So once you've located an image, go ahead and just drag it into Photoshop Elements or the version that you're using and just drop it into the workspace, and then make sure you have the Move tool selected and then drag it onto your page. From here you can click on the bounding box and you can see that the options appear down at the bottom of your page. Ensure that you have the constrained proportions box checked, and then you can freely change how large that photo is simply just by dragging the corner in and out by holding the left mouse button down and moving the mouse. So once you have it how you want it, I kind of want it to go in this area. You'll notice with a lot of my Artsy papers that there's guidance into where to place your images, and so I'm going to place my image on this white area. So I'm just going to place that over, and when I'm happy with it I'm going to click that green check mark to commit the transformation, and then go ahead and close that photo out. From here I could go ahead and blend that image, or I could put a frame around it to kind of create the focal point of my page, but in this instance I'm going to make it easier on myself and I'm going to use a mask found in Multimedia Art number 1. So head back down to that folder, I'm going to navigate to my supplies and locate Multimedia Art number 1. Click on that, and the file I want to use is Multimedia Art number 1, file number 5, and you can see that's delivered in two different versions. I have a kind of a flattened PNG version which has a transparent background and can be used as an element, but if I select that PSD file and drag it into my Photoshop elements, you can see that that element is delivered in multi-layer PSD format, which allows me to manipulate any of these layers. I can switch them on and off to kind of create multiple different versions of the same element. In this instance, I'm going to use the element in its entirety to start with. So I'm going to select the top layer in the Layers panel, hold down my Shift key, and then select that bottom layer. And you can see what happens is it selects all the layers in the Layers panel, so that when I have the Move tool selected, I'm able to move all of those layers over to my layout all at the same time. And I actually want them beneath the photo and not on top of the photo. So you can see that they're all still selected in my Layers panel. So I'm just going to drag them and drop them between the Artsy paper and the photo. I'm going to close out the multimedia element, and then if I go to my Layers panel and turn off the visibility by clicking on this eye icon of the photo layer, you can see that we can see all of those underlying multimedia layers. And I want to clip my photo to this white canvas layer. So I'm going to go back to my Layers panel, click on the eye icon so that we can see our photo layer again, and then I'm going to drag that photo layer so that it sits directly above that canvas layer. And I've labeled the layers for you to make it a little bit easier. And then from here we can press Control and G at the same time, and you can see that that photo now conforms to the parameters of the underlying canvas layer. If the photo doesn't completely cover the mask, you might want to make some readjustments, like enlarging that photo and perhaps moving it around to find the best fit, and then click OK. And then I really like the texture that's underneath on that paper, and so to allow that to bleed through into the image, we can go and add a multiply blending mode, and you can see that faintly, and we can accentuate that texture by lightening the image. So go up to Enhance, Adjust Lighting, Levels, and then just move these levers to increase the brightness of the image and allow that texture to show through, and then click OK. And you can go ahead and leave this as is, but I find that there's quite a lot happening because of all the various layers, the wood layer and the art stroke. So I'm going to just go ahead and switch some of these off so that we don't have to be concerned with them. I'm turning off the art stroke and the splatter because it kind of interferes with my niece's face. And I'm also going to go ahead and turn off that wood transfer and the stain. So if we look at our design so far with the rule of thirds in mind, you can see that most of the action is happening horizontally and through the middle of the page, with the photo being slightly to the right. And to balance that, we need to add a bit of embellishment to the left to keep it visually pleasing. So when I'm thinking about where I'm going to add my title, which is the next step, I'm leaning towards this area of the layout. And so to add my title, I'm going to head back down to my folders, and I'm going to access my Create Word Art folder, which is one of the element packs that are delivered with the 5th of September Anna release. And ordinarily I would load this ABR file into my brushes panel, particularly if I knew I was going to be stamping that word art in a different color, or if I would perhaps want to resize it. In this case, I know that I'm just going to be using the word art as is in its delivered format. So in this case, it's easier just to kind of grab that word art and drag it into our workspace. Ensure that you have the Move tool selected, and then drag it onto your layout and position it. And of course this circle down here is screaming to be adorned with a few words. Close out this word art file And then you'll see or notice that this word art is slightly smaller than some of the others. And so to draw the eye to the title and also add some interest to this white space, I'm going to go ahead and add another element from Multimedia Art number 1. So head back down to your folder, navigate to your product, and select the Multimedia Art folder number 1. And in this case, I'm going to use a PNG file because I know that I'm not going to have to manipulate any of the layers and I want to use it in its entirety. So grab 2.png and drag it into your workspace. And with the Move tool selected, move the element onto your page, and then you can move it into position. And then from here, you can resize it, ensure you have your constrained portions box checked, and move the bounding box until you have that element how you want it. Click the check mark to commit the transformation, and then you also have the option of moving your element up above the title or keep it beneath the title, whichever you prefer. And I actually like it a little larger, so I'm just going to drag that out a little bit more and have that up off the page. And you can see there that the constrained portions box isn't checked, so if we click on the cancel and click back on the bounding box, ensure that's checked. That happened because I was actually dragging from the side instead of from this corner. So ensure when you have the corner that you see that double-ended diagonal arrow, just to ensure that you are actually resizing the element proportionally. So drag it out and then move it back up and then click OK. Next I'm going to add an Urban Stitches banners, partly because it kind of adds a celebratory feel to this layout, and also because I know I already have it loaded in my brushes panel from my previous page, and it's always nice to make it easy for yourself if you can. So go ahead and select the paintbrush tool from the tools panel to activate your brushes panel, and click on this downward facing arrow to activate your options. And I'm going to select this first banner, click on it to select. Ensure that you have your foreground color set to the one of your choice. I prefer black, and then go and create a new layer in your layers panel, and then it's just a matter of stamping that brush onto your page to create the desired result. Finally, I'm going to add a couple more embellishments from Art Play Palette Artsy. Head back down to that folder and navigate to your Art Play palette, and I know it's in the first one, so go to the Elements folder, and I'm going to actually grab a selection of these elements. And so to do that, I'm going to hold down my Control key and select the ones that I want to bring into my workspace, and then just drag them across, and then you can open multiple elements at the same time. And then from here it's just a matter of selecting the Move tool and dragging each one onto your page. Dragging it down, and then you can see that that one's actually arrived on top, and it would be really nice to have that stitched heart kind of stitched down by this banner, so you can pull that element down so that it sits beneath the stitching if you want to, and then just move the button over. That one's actually underneath the stitching, which kind of looks kind of cool, but you could also bring it up and just play with that. You can also resize any of the elements as desired, and then go ahead and add a drop shadow if you want to. At this point I decided to call this layout done, but of course you can go ahead and add some journaling and even some more photos if you have more photos or images to showcase. So to do this I often use a template. Go down to your folders, and this is one of the reasons why I always include an Artsy layered template with the release, because I like the flexibility of being able to use parts of the template to create one of my own Artsy pages. So I'm dragging the template into my layout, and then I'm going to locate the text box, and once I've clicked on it in the layers panel I'm going to move it over onto my layout, and you can place it. This would make a good place to put the text box, but I also have the option of, if I select the type tool, I also have the option of being able to change the orientation of this text box, and you can see I can change the size of it simply just by moving the areas or the different points on the bounding box. And then I can also move it down here if I want to, and then select the type tool again, select all the text, and I can begin typing. And it's just clearly a bit of a lazy way of adding typing without having to recreate the whole text box myself. It does save a little bit of time. Similarly, if I wanted to add another image to my layout, I could go ahead and grab some of these frames that are already in a nice kind of position. So click on the top one, hold down your shift key and click on the bottom one so that I have all the layers for both frames selected, and then move them across onto your page. And it's quite large, but you know, you also have the option in Photoshop of being able to resize those frames, and I can see my constrained portions box wasn't selected, so cancel that. We'll try again. Click, ensure it's selected, and just make sure you have that double-ended arrow and resize accordingly. And then I can go ahead and add an additional image or two in there, and also too, if I wanted to, I could move these frames around and perhaps find a different position for them if I wanted to complete your layout. Hopefully I've been able to give you a little bit more insight into my creative process in this second video in the AA map series. If you have any questions about the techniques demonstrated in this tutorial, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can shoot me an email at anna_aspinus@yahoo.com, and I'd be more than happy to help you. And I will see you back here again soon.